I hate you. Now give me your money. The epidemic of transgender violence, man, we have a problem. And guess how much money the latest Snow White film lost? A lot. We'll tell you about that and a whole lot more coming up this morning. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. We are live on Rumble, as we are every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. live on Rumble, followed, of course, by the Dan Bongino Show. That is coming up this morning at 10. Be sure and hang out for that. And Danny, happy Friday the 13th. Yes, indeed, it is Friday the 13th. In fact, I put on my Facebook profile a happy Friday the 13th, and I put the Templar cross there because I don't know if you know it or not, the history of this date, Friday the 13th, but it was October 13th, a Friday, back in, I don't know what the hell the year is, but that is the day that they went out based on the king and the pope and all this other crap and actually started arresting and ultimately burning at the stake a whole lot of every Knights Templar they could catch. That's why this is known as a bad luck day, Friday the 13th. That's where that came from. Just a little aside, some little tidbits of useless information. There's a whole history if you want. You can look it up. It's fascinating. I watch YouTube videos about it all the time. I am fascinated with this stuff. But anyway, we got all that and more. It's all coming up. Right now, though, it's time to tell you about the best way to save money and make sure your money is going to causes and organizations that believe in what we believe in. And that is by switching your cell phone provider to Patriot Mobile. Whenever something goes viral, you can rest assured that frauds are going to jump on the bandwagon, pretending they're being all patriotic companies. Guess what? Here's some news for you. They're not. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are right there with us in the fight. Patriot Mobile's been a great supporter of this show, and they are the only cell phone provider that's actually right there on the front lines with us defending our freedom. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage across all three major networks, which means you get exactly the same coverage you've been accustomed to. You keep your phone number, you keep your phone. You can upgrade if you like, you don't have to. But the best thing is you know that when you pay your monthly bill, not one red penny is going to fund anything on the left. They are a patriotic company that doesn't pretend to be patriotic because it's good marketing. They mean what they say. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're supporting a company that is defending free speech, religious freedom, the right to life, the sanctity of life, our military, our first responders. They're 100% U.S.-based customer service team. They could not make switching any easier. A lot of our viewers and listeners have checked it out. Talk to customer service. Even if you're currently under a contract, talk to their customer service people. They've got plans that could potentially get you out of that contract and into one where you will likely save a whole lot of money every month from Patriot Mobile. If you use our link, it's in the show notes, patriotmobile.com/J, J-A-Y, easy to remember. You use that link, you get yourself switched over and signed up, which is quick and easy. You will get your first month free. Yep, your first month is on me. I'm paying your bill for the first month. patriotmobile.com/J. Free activation. Use that offer code J and get your first month free. Don't be fooled by those other companies. They're not there with us. Patriot Mobile, the only Christian conservative cell phone service provider in the country. They are right there with us in this fight. patriotmobile.com/J. All right. I hate you. Now give me your money. That moron, Governor Tim Walz, just doesn't know when to shut up. He's demanding federal dollars to pay for the deep damage, he calls it, from ICE raids. Some people have just unbelievable gall or a total lack of shame. Likely in this knucklehead's case, it's both. Former President Bill Clinton, California Governor moron Newsom. Those names come to mind right away, of course. Well, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz proving that he's got it in spades after his state refused to cooperate with federal authorities in their efforts to clean up Biden's illegal immigration mess, endlessly demonizing the ICE agents who tried to bring law and order to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, after being completely blind to a massive Somali fraud operation, reportedly taking about $9 billion in grift. The defeated Democrat vice presidential candidate, do you remember that? Can you imagine if Kamala had won and he was the vice president? Worse yet, something happens to her and he winds up being president? Are you freaking kidding me? Man, another reason to be glad we've got the president we've got. He thinks your federal dollars, your tax dollars, should pay for his failure. You think I'm kidding? Oh, I'm not.
The federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. There are going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of the things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state. The federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and then just leave without doing something about it. So we're going to be asking the federal delegation to be investing and doing the things necessary.
I'll tell you what, Timmy. How about you check with some of your Somali friends and get them to pay for it? They got about $9 billion. I'm sure that'll cover part of it. Generational trauma experienced in Minneapolis. That came along, 2020, when the man known by some as Governor Jazz Hands, watched by idly as arsonists torched huge swaths of that city. His wife enjoyed the smell of the burning tires during the George Floyd riots. Remember that? That was all good with him because it was for a right cause. When it comes to trying to get a grip on the illegal alien problem or fighting crime, well, old Tampon Tim really isn't on board for that stuff. If Walz and his deranged Attorney General Keith Ellison had simply encouraged a little bit of cooperation with federal law enforcement agencies who are enduring measures that have been passed by the U.S. Congress, enforcing the law, dialed down their incendiary rhetoric, then a lot of the bad things that went down in the Twin Cities probably would never have happened. Do you think about that, Timmy? You own this, Walz. You own this. And now you think that, what, you and me, hardworking American taxpayers, ought to send your state more money? I'd say you got quite enough. $9 billion in fraud. You may not have a whole lot of leadership qualities, little buddy, but you got a lot of gall. Thankfully, he has abandoned his re-election bid, which hopefully will be nothing but a very painful memory in a very short amount of time. And speaking of balls, or gall, same. These people, mostly in this video collaboration here, are Somali. These are the people, and this just cannot be real. It is, trust me, this is not AI. But these people seem to feel like they're entitled to our money. Listen.
In daycare and obtaining government funding falsely, this court sentences you to 8 years in state prison.
Everything was done legally and covered by state representatives. I'm completely innocent, Your Honor. Please reconsider.
Yeah, whatever.
For committing fraud on a massive scale and stealing tens of millions of dollars from the United States government, this court sentences you to 25 years in state penitentiary.
We didn't commit fraud. This was for children. This was for schools and kindergartens. You don't understand what we're doing now.
No, we are not doing this today. This is my car. I was parked here 5 minutes. I went inside to sign paperwork for the kids, and you take my car like you own this place? I've already told you I'm waiting for the funding.
Ma'am, Tim Walsh is coming next week. You can talk to him then.
Can you help me right now? You can't just
Seizure
put
orders.
it up. No, right. That's my property, all of it. You can't just open
Look
it
at
like
the
that.
cash.
Procedure. The bag's flagged on screening. We
No,
need to
that
document the
bag is
contents.
cash for my family. Do you hear me? I sent it home. You touch it, you will be arrested.
I know my rights.
I have mine.
This is for my family? Look at the money in that suitcase. And there's nothing else in the suitcase except cash. And how much you want to bet she's getting checked as she flies back to Somalia? And how much you want to bet a whole lot of that money is going to wind up in the hands of terrorists? This is my money. You can't touch it. And what about the car? And I don't know if you noticed or not, but did you see the one right next to it, the silver one? Same thing. And like I said, it's like they feel like they're entitled to it. It's like, come on. The attitude of these people. And my next question is, are you even here legally? Can I see your passport? Probably not. We did not cover this because, frankly, it was all over the news. You could read about it anywhere. It's disgusting. But yet another transgender school shooter, this one in Canada. I'm sure you've heard about it. But this is just the latest in a growing epidemic of unbelievable transgender violence that, frankly, folks, has got to come to an end one way or the other. And now not only in this country, but other countries. Mentally ill man, cosplaying as a woman, shot and killed 6 people at a school in British Columbia. That came after he murdered his mother and his stepbrother. 18-year-old Jesse Van Rooselaar killed his mother and stepbrother Tuesday and then headed into a local school and fatally shot 8 individuals and then turned the gun on himself. The only bright spot in this whole story. This guy also wounded more than 24 people in this attack. He was born male, began identifying as a female 6 years ago. Instagram account purportedly belonging to his mother, Jennifer, appears to show she was a trans activist and posted that, quote, "You have any idea how many kids are killing themselves over this kind of hate?" Adding, "protect trans kids," like a hashtag. Well, this deadly and unbelievably tragic shooting, just the latest in a very long string of transgender violence, which, frankly, at this point, has become an absolute epidemic. There is a video online, I've seen it on X a couple of times, of this now dead school shooter who's just sitting there laughing in this most evil. I won't play it on this show. I can't watch it a second time. I shut it off halfway through because you just get the heebie-jeebies watching this. You can just sense that the devil has absolutely taken over this kid. It's evil and it's scary. I would highly recommend you not watch it. I won't play it on this show. It is beyond that. September, conservative titan Charlie Kirk murdered on a Utah college campus just as he began answering a question about transgender violence statistics. Kirk's alleged killer, apparently in a relationship with a man who claims to be transgender. 2 weeks before Kirk's murder, a man who claimed to be transgender fatally shot up a church full of praying kids in Minneapolis in 2023. A transgender school shooter shot up a Nashville, Tennessee school. Last year, Ryan Michael English allegedly tried to assassinate Scott Bessent and burn down the Heritage Foundation. Claimed he was inspired by Luigi Mangione. Ryan, identified in several reports as being a female named Riley Jane English, is a man who cosplays as a woman, displaying he is absolutely mentally ill. Maya Alec McKinney, a female who later claimed to be a man, sentenced to life in prison back in 2023 following the deadly 2019 shooting in Colorado that left one student dead. 28. This list doesn't stop. Are you getting the picture now? Transgenderism is a violent, terrorist death cult. And we ought to treat it that way, the same way we would treat Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Somebody, federal government, state, I don't know who, but somebody needs to step in. This list continues. I can't go on here forever. I'd be doing an hour's worth just listing all these transgender shooting incidents. This is an epidemic in this country, and one that has got to come to an end, one way or the other. Danny, I just saw some of the victims last night, so very sad. One girl in the hospital needs a miracle to live because she was shot in the head and neck, not expected to survive. The articles I've read are saying she and her, and that pisses me off so bad. You and me both, my friend. You see the police chief or whoever the hell it was, that idiot who refused to, call anybody for what point? He is a biological man. Call him what he is. He's a man. The press, corporate media, police officers, politicians, he, she, her. It's not she, her. It's he, him. But they won't let it go. And all that's doing is just continuing this violence. It has got to stop. I wish I had an answer. I do not. Tom Homan has taken the Clippers to another Democratic victory lap because of ICE's Minnesota drawdown. Why? Well, a few rather inconvenient facts, it turns out. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, made one thing unmistakably clear about the ICE drawdown in Minneapolis. This is not the end. Federal agents can return at scale if it's needed. ICE ending their surge posture in Minneapolis. And no, that does not mean enforcement is stopping. They will still be out there doing their job. He addressed this transition in a television interview on Thursday night, pushed back on the idea that federal authorities are refreshing or retreating, and the false claims from Democrats that this was a victory for the anti-ICE resistance. We're still going to have hundreds of special agents here drawing down on the fraud in the Somali community. Give a listen.
Even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here drawing down on the fraud here from the Semitic community and others. Those fraud investigations are going to continue until they're done. We're going to hold people responsible. We're also got investigators here doing the church investigations, to include Don Lemon. We're not walking away from anything. We've achieved what we came here for. This is like any other surge operation. L.A., it ended. Los Angeles, it ended. Charlotte, it ended. New Orleans, it ended. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this. Over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
And there you go. It ain't over. If we need to come back, we'll come back. I love that. It's not a withdrawal. Hundreds of agents are still right there, focused on fraud, related criminal investigations. Ongoing cases are continuing. Personnel still there on the ground. What is ending is the surge configuration, that intensified manpower spike, which is designed to force a little cooperation, a little accelerated enforcement, which is all a good thing. Minneapolis' effort brought a heavier federal footprint to that area, very clear purpose, trying to get local officials to cooperate on criminal enforcement cases, ongoing fraud cases. This added manpower was a tool, not a long-term deployment. It's never meant to be that. And once Minnesota authorities finally began working more closely with the federal investigators, key investigative goals got achieved, no longer a need to maintain this surge level of staffing. So they brought them back. And that transition is all that's going on right now. Very, very little is going to change. The larger message from Homan isn't about the past, it's about the future. Surge ends, enforcement authority does not. ICE maintains its personnel in Minneapolis. DHS retains full authority to increase their footprint again if the conditions change. The federal government has not relinquished any control. And Homan drove that point home. That last thing he said, over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul. If we need to come back, we'll come back. Minneapolis, not off the radar, not insulated from the federal government. That surge phase concluded. Presence of the federal government enforcement action remains, and their capacity to scale it back up as close as a flight. They'll be back if they have to, trust me. Let's hope they don't need to be. Oh, you know what? Here's an article talking about what we talked about when we were talking about the transgender shooter. I don't know why I put this further down on the list of things I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to do this even though it's kind of disjointed. I know we spoke about this already, but this is a good article. Anti-Truth Media, great name for it, bends over backwards to call the Canadian trans school shooter by his preferred pronouns. Innocent civilians are dead at the hands of another alleged transgender killer. And as per usual, the media propagandist's biggest concern is whether they're addressing this man with the correct pronouns. They also reveal, in addition to identifying the shooter, that he identified as a woman. Didn't miss a beat. The so-called journalists moved very quickly to display their subservience to the radical gender ideology by making sure they always referred to this man as a woman. The opening graph of their article, The Male Suspect, Associated Press Jim Morris, Rob Gillies, dutifully put up the old transgender salute. And here's what they wrote. The suspect is in the Canadian school shooting is an 18-year-old who had a history of police visits to her home to check on her mental health, authorities said Wednesday. New York Times. Steve Gridneff, Martina Stevis Gridneff, and Vajosa Izai. What are these names? Similar thing in the Times. Updates on the shooting. The writer refers to the suspect as Ms. Van Rootselaar. Repeatedly used the she and her when referencing the shooter. Newsweek, CNN also joined in promoting the left's trans identity insanity. Every one of these outlets called this scumball a transgender woman and female. People magazine referred to the suspected shooter as a female in the headline for her article and as a woman inside the piece that she wrote. Female identified as suspect in worst Canada school shooting in decades that killed 9 and injured at least 25. That's the People article headline. Female. Not just U.S.-based outlets either. CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, referred to the suspect as her. Australian Broadcasting called the alleged killer a woman, her, and herself. UK-based Guardian reported in details about the suspect's gun ownership. The problem? Well, this left-wing outlet, The Guardian, used female pronouns when referring to the shooter. They wrote, the suspect had a firearms license that expired in 2024 and did not currently have any firearms registered to her. Reuters, another British outlet, referred to the shooter as a woman. Female pronouns when talking about him. Excuse me. They just enforce it, reinforce it. It's not going to go away. I know you love hearing about the Epstein files. I don't. I cover it when there's something new and big breaking. There is going to be something very new and very big breaking, thanks to that incredible powerhouse, Nancy Mace, who will not give up the fight. I absolutely adore this woman, and she is doing all that she can. Wide Awake Media posts on X, are there any names on the list you can reveal? That's a reporter talking to Nancy Mace. And what she had to say is damned interesting.
Are there any names on the list that you can reveal?
Well, Bill Gates is going to be on there. I've talked about him. Leon Black is another one who's been mentioned in the press. Again, when it comes to some of the female individuals, I want to make sure that I'm not revealing the names. We have vetted the list of females one time. I found more names yesterday. So we're going to do a second vetting of those names. The magician, whom everybody knows, is going to be on the list. Jess Staley is another one who's going to be on the list. So some of these names you're going to recognize, but then there are others who worked in the houses, who clearly witnessed things that I'm going to ask to come forward and answer questions.
And have you seen anybody in the, I guess what I'm getting at here with your list, are any of them, Republican allies of the president, or are they all
There'll be a mix of Republicans and Democrats.
But
I'm going to be equal opportunity about the names. I'm not going to be. Sure. I'm not going to be filtering it for political affiliation.
There you go. There you go, Nancy. Get them, girl. Going to be equal opportunity about the names. I cannot wait. DOJ wants to black out the names of the perpetrators of these crimes. FBI wants to black out the names. Well, Nancy Mace is not blacking out the names. She's seen them, and she's revealing them. I love this lady. That we will be following, I promise you, and we will have more on it as it happens. We'll see what happens. Maybe over the weekend. I don't know if it happens then. We'll cover it on Monday's show. We'll see. Surrogacy. What do you know about surrogacy? Well, it ain't so great, apparently. Surrogacy has left 21 children parentless after unbelievable abuse. And until that gets banned, these 21 kids sadly will not be the last. No amount of regulation can fix a system that is predicated on encroaching on a child's natural right to his or her biological mother and father. If anybody wants proof that commercial surrogacy needs to be banned, look no further than California. A Chinese couple took advantage of extremely lax rent-a-womb policies to commission the creation of about 24 children, now scattered across foster homes in the U.S. and tied up with all kinds of horrible allegations of abuse. Eyebrows raised back in 2025, 21 children belonging to this Chinese couple placed in state custody. I remember I covered this. After a baby arrived at the hospital with a brain bleed. The real shocker came when the news broke that most of these kids were under 3 years old. Many reportedly created a deceptive multi-state simultaneous surrogacy scheme called Mark Surrogacy, run by none other than the owners of the home, 65-year-old Guojun Xuan and 38-year-old Sylvia Zhang. Now, oddly enough, there are no laws that ban the use of multiple simultaneous surrogacy. You can go out and hire 100 surrogate parents or moms. There's a process that involves impregnating multiple surrogates at a time so that all the babies are closer in age. Normally, you have a child, you wait a little while, and then you can get pregnant again and have another child, but at least 10 months in between. Whereas if you go out and spread your seed amongst all these hired surrogate moms, you can have a whole bunch of kids almost the same age. These two, Xuan and Zhang, ran this Mark Surrogacy. Legislators have tried very frantically to create a surrogacy-friendly law. Policies make it easier for anybody to use third-party reproduction to have children, never mind the threat of these kind of lax policies. A new deep dive from the New Yorker magazine details developments in the latest commercial surrogacy horror story. This article looks into the alleged abuse, potential financial corruption, even hints at a birthright citizenship scam. Oh yeah, here we go. The prevailing theme is that third-party reproduction in the form of commercial surrogacy hurts everybody involved, and especially the children who are created from it. Hard to pin down the exact number of children that these two knuckleheads used third-party reproduction to obtain. Weird to use the word obtain when we're talking about children, but there you go. The fact the New Yorker story says that Zhang had to check her notes in order to answer investigators' questions about how many children she had. Do you know how many children you have? I'll bet you don't have to think about it. When they asked this woman, she said, "Oh, let me see. Let me check my notes here. Are you freaking kidding me?" Between 2019 and 2025, Zhuan and Zheng lured women into a paid surrogacy scheme with some sob story about a married Chinese couple could no longer conceive children on their own. By the way, Zhuan and Zheng, they're not even legally married. A lot of the surrogates seem to have a similar story. For 9 months, these women would gestate babies created by Zhuan's sperm and a purchased egg. Guojun wanted egg donors who were younger, non-Asian, and more educated. Former aide to Zhang told this New Yorker writer. Little or no direct contact with the surrogate mom for the entire pregnancy. According to the New Yorker's account, of the women, when the time came for the babies to be born, Zhang showed up to the hospital clad in a leather jacket, handed the surrogate mother and other people presents wads of cash, barely glanced at this newborn baby. It's disgusting. And said, "Oh, I forgot a car seat." So when you just toss the kid in the back of the car? Probably. The couple has a gated California property. Investigators later discovered children with shaved heads were being handed over to nannies who were captured on cameras physically disciplining them, forcing them to squat, spanking them on top of a table, hitting them in the face. Zhuan reportedly ran his home like a police state. Surveillance all over the place. It was only after one of these nannies reportedly beat a 2-month-old baby so hard he fell unconscious and developed bleeding behind his eyes and inside his brain. Authorities finally acted on years of abuse complaints. Baby Walter required immediate medical attention for his injuries, wasn't admitted until Zhang brought him to the hospital, saying he'd fallen off a bed. Apparently days after the hitting of this child happened. Eventually, some of the surrogates connected online, compared notes, and determined that they were being scammed into concurrently having all these babies for this one couple. 24 of them. Eventually, some of these surrogates all got together. The surrogates' ability to do something for the kids, they had no biological connection, no legal right to these kids. It's very limited. One surrogate, even appointed as the primary caregiver of the child she carried, Gabrielle, for 2.5 months until authorities in her state, Georgia, removed him from her home without warning. Foster care is exactly where at least 23 of the couple's children are until various state courts can decide their fates. Kids have already born of similar surrogacy arrangements are going to do nothing but suffer from this. Not just because a lot of the alleged abusers and these kids have endured months, years of abuse, neglect, scratches, red marks, scars, old bruises on various parts of their bodies, dehydration, dirtiness, largely because these kids will likely never know their biological mother, nor the mother who carried and nurtured them for 9 months. Unbelievable. We need laws, we need more investigations, and we need scum of the earth people like these two moron to be put in or under a prison forever. We do not screw with our children. We got one rule around this place, and that's it. Don't with the kids. Just like Danny says, 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes with them. Yeah. And I'm not a big advocate of violence. But there's always an exception to the rules one way or the other. I'm not screwing around. This is more than horrific. Do you know who Breezy Johnson is? Well, a week ago, nobody did. And now, as it turns out, we might just know too much about who Breezy Johnson is. U.S. Olympic gold medalist Breezy Johnson is a lot of things. She has one of the all-time best names for a skier, Breezy. One of the best women's downhill skiers in the world. Apparently, I don't know why we need to know this, but she is a bisexual. And now, she is engaged to a man. So, let's start at the top. This is Breezy doing the thing that made her famous. Skiing. She's got a lot of talent, a lot of tenacity. Her full name is Breezy Noble Breezy Johnson. It's not a nickname. That is her actual name, which provides convincing evidence that perhaps what we name our children can have a pretty big impact on what life they live. Born in Jackson, Wyoming, January 19th, 1996, raised in a ski community, started skiing at 3 years old. I used to ski when I was growing up as a single preteen and teenager. I gave it up after a while, but my mom actually worked. We had, in Cornwall, Connecticut, we have the Mohawk ski area. My mom worked there, so we got to ski for free, which was cool. Anyway, she makes her 30-year Generation Z Zoomer in keeping with her demographic. She may like privacy, but not a big fanatic about it. She missed the 2022 Winter Olympics because of some serious knee injuries. And also in 2022, she came out as being bisexual. Not that we need to hear this, but apparently we're going to.
I was interested to read when I learned that you were the first out athlete to medal from the U.S. at this Olympics. What does that representation mean to you?
I grew up as a kid who was obsessed with sports, and all I wanted to be was a ski racer. And so I just did everything that I saw that ski racers were doing. But it also was a world in which everybody was straight. As a bi person, like, it was very easy for me to just stick a piece of myself in a box. And then actually, in many ways, seeing Amber Glenn really changed my perspective. And I almost had just repressed that side of myself for so long. And in seeing her as such a powerful athlete, I started to kind of open that box again.
Okay, that's enough. We don't need to know anymore. Thank you very much. Just go ski, would you? Look, I don't know why we need to know that, but apparently I don't think that's the point. We're seeing these Olympics, Gen Z is all about using their platforms for anything other than what they're there for in the first place. It's all about attention. Attention is currency. To truly succeed in the Olympic Games, getting a medal is just the entry point. What you do with your moment in the sun, that's what really counts. She got some extra help in the form of Connor Watkins on the finish line 5 days after she won the USA's first gold medal in these games. She crashed in the Super G, which she did not medal. She came away with a diamond ring as her boyfriend, now who is her fiancé, promised her right there on the mountain that he wanted to marry her. And so she said yes. So what we have now is a gold medal winning, girl loving, guy loving, bisexual who apparently feels compelled to share all of this as she gets engaged to a guy. What? You figure it out. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen any of them, but I have been uploading some shorts, which are little clippets from this program, onto my YouTube channel, The Jay Sheldon Show. Go over there and follow and subscribe to me on YouTube. And strangely enough, they've been getting hundreds, in some cases thousands of views and a lot of reaction. And on the one where I said Olympic people should just shut up and do their sport, and it's not like, just like this Breezy story, it's not some platform for you to be, in the worst case, people blasting the U.S., who are sponsoring you in the Olympics and whose country you supposedly represent. And I had a lot of people come back and hit at me in the comments on my YouTube shorts and say, oh, so you're against free speech? Don't you know, you commie, that we have free speech in this country? And, I replied to one and then just said the other person to see my other reply. Because, yes, I admit I'm one of the first. The reason I'm here on Rumble is because of free speech. I can say whatever I want, whatever I feel. You can agree with it. You can not agree with it. But the same way you don't go to church on Sunday morning and suddenly stand up in the middle of the service and start rapping sex songs, oh, it's your free speech right to do that. But decorum says you don't do that because it's inappropriate. You're an Olympian athlete. You have won a medal. This country sent you there, supported you. You are wearing our flag on your uniform somewhere. And you're going to sit there and use your time to blast the country that you supposedly represent? A, you have every right to do that if you want to. B, it is wholly inappropriate to do it. You want to go stand on the sidewalk and scream and yell about how the USA sucks pond water? You knock yourself out. You can be out there every moment you're not practicing for the Olympics. Bring a microphone and a little sound card. You can boost your voice. You bring a megaphone. I don't care. You have a right. And yes, you have a right to say those things at the Olympics. But it is inappropriate and you should not be doing it. That's what I'm talking about. The singer Demi Lovato did this. So we're talking about the Breezy story. Straight, came out as bi, pansexual, changed pronouns to they, them. That's the most annoying to me of all. 2021, when it was cool. Now married to a man and is she, her. Okay, yeah, whatever. Oh, these people just, whatever. All right. So finally, and this is really a great way to wrap up, exactly how much money did the latest Snow White film, which was kind of a live-ish action Snow White movie. It was a reboot. But, I mean, you kind of figured right off the bat it was going to lose money. Just how much money did they lose? $170 million. Oh, yeah. But get this. Had Disney not produced this movie in the UK, which is where they produced it, got a reported $65 million in tax credits because they produced it over in the UK. If they hadn't, Snow White would have lost the Mouse House a jaw-dropping $235 million. Oh, yeah. Enter the Hollywood Hall of Shame, one of the 10 biggest money-losing movies of all time. Somewhere between Disney's 2012 stinker John Carter and Peter Berg's Battleship, same year. I can go over all the reasons with you one more time. Bad concept, Rachel Ziegler, bad script, Rachel Ziegler, bad casting, Rachel Ziegler, brand new songs, Rachel Ziegler, budget-busting reshoots, Rachel Ziegler, budget-busting and unnecessary CGI dwarfs. Oh, and also Rachel Ziegler. We've been through all this before. You've heard it before when we covered this idiot film when it came out. But let me ask one vital question that apparently nobody at Disney seems to have asked themselves. How is it even possible to lose that much money on a film that could very well have been shot for, I don't know, maybe $100 million? Another $50 million in marketing, probably? That's an easy one. Disney spent a well-reported $336 million to produce a freaking family musical and another estimated $100 million to market it. In the UK, the tax credits movie theaters take, Snow White needed to sell around $740 million for Disney to even just break even. That's like Star Wars money, okay? A family musical? It ain't gonna happen. When the studio still cared about that kind of thing, Disney would have started making money somewhere around probably $260 million. Had there been any grown-ups actually in charge at Disney to enforce some of the cost disciplines, $100 million Snow White would have been a much better movie probably than the one they made for more than 3 times that much. But there's a bigger story to tell. Look at another big loser, John McTierson's The 13th Warrior. Impossible to say exactly where it places on the list of all-time box office bombs because of the notorious Hollywood accounting gimmickry. But it might have lost its title as $130 million, which is adjusted for inflation, as much as $243 million, John Carter, probably the biggest flop of all time at $274 million if you convert it to today's dollars. Nobody can say for sure because, honestly, nobody actually knows. Not even the people who sign the checks know. And that's Hollywood for you, but Snow White wasn't shot in Hollywood. Oh, man. Danny, I don't celebrate the Hallmark Day, only buy goodies for the kids. However, I'm wishing everyone a happy Valentine's Day weekend filled with love. Everybody deserves to be loved. You are exactly right. Everybody deserves to be loved. And I hope you get to spend this weekend with someone you love, or the people that you love, or your family that you love. That is my wish for you. I'll be hanging out, doing not much of anything. Chinese New Year starts on Monday, and it is a big deal where I live. Little Miko, who's been right over here the whole show, laying down, chilling out, because she knows, I think she can sense. I wish I could pull that camera over there, but anyway, she's there. She knows something's coming. They've already started a little bit of fireworks here and there in the evening hours. They'll throw up one or two and bothers the hell out of her. But this weekend, it's going to be bad. So keep Miko in your prayers. She'll get through it. We have one of those thunder coats for her. That helps a little bit. Thank you, my friends. I really appreciate your being here. Be sure and follow the show if you're watching us on our delayed on YouTube and X. Subscribe over there. Follow us. And don't forget to check out our shorties on YouTube. A lot of people checking those out. I'm amazed at the numbers we're getting. Make a comment. Hit the like, the thumbs up button. All right. Marilyn, guess who forgot you were on at 9, not 10? I'll keep this going from here. All right. And just in time for us to say God bless everybody and have a great weekend. We will see you all right back here Monday morning at 9 a.m., Marilyn, on the Jay Sheldon Show. Great weekend, everybody.